When you're opening a presentation, one of your options for an attention grabber, or sometimes called an attention getter, is to share a statistic or fact. These can go by a little quickly, but with little help you can pump them up for maximum effect. So let's look at some details. Hello friends, I'm Alex Lyon, and Communication Coach is here to help you increase your impact to lead your teams to higher levels of excellence. Presentation skills are really important, and your attention grabber in your presentation is a great way to make people want to listen to the rest of what you have to say. Sharing a statistic is one effective way to do that. So let's look at some tips. First of all, you want to use a statistic that is shocking or startling or interesting in some way. And one of the ways you can know this, by the way, is while you're reading and doing your own research for your presentation, you'll probably come across a statistic or fact that stands out to you. And that's a really good clue that it may be a good candidate for your attention grabber. Just put it aside, and as you develop the rest of your presentation, consider it as a top candidate for grabbing your audience's attention. The second thing you want to do is when you share this nice statistic or fact, is you want to cite the information, your source, up front and then give the fact or the statistic. You don't want to do it at the end. It sounds like you're reading a paper that you just tagged on your citation at the end, and I've heard a lot of people do it that way and it doesn't sound very smooth. The same way you would share a quotation, you would share the person's name up front. You would say, according to Bruce Lee, and then you give your quotation from Bruce Lee. As Mother Teresa once said, then you give the quotation from Mother Teresa. You want to do the same thing when you give your fact or statistic. So here's an example of what that would sound. The source I'm going to cite is Nielsen, which is an organization, and the year is 2016, and it sounds a little bit like this. In 2016, Nielsen, the company that keeps track of TV viewing patterns, found that the average American watches television for 4.5 hours a day. Even more shocking, most Americans look at a screen of some sort up to 10.5 hours a day. And so what I did there is I gave a couple of statistics, but I cited my source up front with the year and the name of the organization. And if it's a person that came out with a study, you would obviously give that person's name. The other tip I want to give you is that, like I just did, it sounds best, I find, if you add about 2 statistics or facts together, so you combine them a little bit. I have found if you just give one brief fact or statistic as your attention grabber, it's only going to last for about a sentence, and it's not going to do the job of guiding people in and really getting them to want to listen to the rest of your presentation. So that's one of the things you want to do, is stack a couple together for maximum impact. Let's talk about a couple of other ways to pump this up. One of the ways is to mix rhetorical questions in with your statistics to make it a little more interesting and to engage another part of your listeners' minds. So let me give a statistic, and I'll give you a couple of questions where I package those statistics within those rhetorical questions. In 2016, an organization called Clear Labs did a study on hot dogs, and you may not want to hear the results. Would it disturb you to hear that 3% of all hot dog brands do not even list pork as an ingredient? Would it unsettle you further to learn that 2% of the hot dogs tested contained human DNA? So by the way, that is a little unsettling. That's what I'm talking about, a startling fact or a statistic. And also what I did there is I packaged those statistics inside of rhetorical questions. So I'm not just sharing it, I'm asking you, would it shock you? Would it unsettle you to hear? Would it disturb you further? And you can build a lot of nice momentum that way. Now, one of the things I caution against with statistics is sometimes people will use them to exaggerate. And I don't recommend you do this. You don't want to be like a pharmaceutical company that's exaggerating the results of their studies, or some weird manipulative politician who, even though the study really says 40%, they say about half. I mean, that's not half. 40% is not half. And so you don't want to stretch things and get weird with it. Just be ethical and be upfront. And if you have good research, share it. So rhetorical questions can be mixed in, and you want to stack a couple of these statistics together for maximum impact. Question of the day: what are your tips for using statistics as an attention grabber? Do you have any other good ideas about how to make these even better so they're not quite as dry? I would love to hear your comments in that section below. So thanks, God bless, and I hope you get to use a great statistic in your very next presentation.